the other night, I began to think about all the relationships in my life and in each other's life. Relationships with one another, relationships with God, relationships with ourselves. And so I asked myself, why are relationships so challenging? I immediately thought about my conversations that I have with newly engaged couples in our premarital counseling sessions. Because after all, I'm not out only to help them have a great wedding day. I want to prepare them for a long-lasting marriage filled with love and support. So throughout our talks, we address that exact question. Why are relationships so challenging? We often have varying opinions. We come from different backgrounds. My parents raised me this way, but your parents had a completely different take. I approached the world a little bit differently than my partner, and so on. I went to Ohio State, and my partner went to Michigan. Mark, you got me? Yikes. These are fantastic conversations and important conversations to have, so you have an idea of what to expect as you move forward. By no means are these differences a bad thing. On the contrary, they help us formulate strong, diverse relationships. Too often, we are quick to respond or judge or share our own opinion rather than meet someone where they're at in that moment. And so tonight, I'd like to discuss the importance of uniqueness and individuality and how we can approach the world through another lens. Our tradition teaches that each and every one of us is created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. We are unique and special in our own way, and that is something to be cherished and celebrated. So I ask you these questions tonight. What makes you unique? And how can you use your individuality to make a positive effect on those around you? Perhaps you're a gifted artist or musician. Maybe you have a special talent for making people laugh or bringing joy to their lives. Or you have a deep passion for learning and exploring new ideas. Whatever it may be, I believe that we each have something special to offer. And it's up to us to figure out what it is and how it can make our lives and the lives of those around us more meaningful. There is a Talmudic story from Tractate Sanhedrin about Rabbi Akiva, who one day was approached by a Roman governor who asked him, "If your God loves the poor, why doesn't God provide for them?" Rabbi Akiva responded with a simple parable. He said, "A king has two sons. One is dressed in fine clothes and has all of the luxuries of the palace. The other is left in rags and has very little. Which son does the king love more?" Well, the Roman responded, "The son who is dressed in fine clothes and given all the luxuries, of course." Shaking his head, Rabbi Akiva responds, "No. The king loves both of his sons equally. He gives the son in rags less today because he knows that tomorrow he will have more and will be able to appreciate it more." This anecdote teaches us that every person is valuable and unique in their own way. Even if one person may not have as much as the other person, it doesn't mean they're worth less. We each have our own unique story to tell. We have differences, to be sure, but perhaps we should celebrate and embrace them instead of dismissing them immediately, which many of us tend to do. In our current climate, it can feel like we're living in a world where everybody wants to be the same. If everyone thought like me, it'd be a much easier place to live. If everyone looked the same, acted the same, thought the same, the world would actually be pretty boring. And pop culture has a tendency to influence people who follow trends and conform to what is popular. But as Jews, we know that it is our differences that make us beautiful and special. Exactly why we were created in God's image. Each of us have a different relationship with God. I'm reminded of the movie Dead Poets Society, where Robin Williams' character, while challenging his students to approach life differently than those of the past, declares that all the original students of that particular institution are currently fertilizing daffodils. But also, if you listen closely, they could whisper their legacy, their differences, the beauty that they could offer to the world. They're saying, and remember the whisper, if you remember the movie, Carpe diem, seize the day, make your lives extraordinary. What a simple yet effective way to inspire someone and impress upon them the importance of individuality and the unique path that every person must take to make their lives meaningful and fulfilling. I mean, don't we all have favorite restaurants, movies, musicians, travel experiences, traditions? That's what makes life interesting. It's okay for someone else to have a different perspective of the world. It's even okay to root for Michigan. In fact, there are all kinds of tests that one can take, especially professional ones, like using the DISC profiles, that help us embrace one another's personality differences. We just have to make the effort to recognize them and accept them. It's not our similarities, but our unique qualities that make us stand out, and along with our similarities, make us special to those around us too. Tonight, as we celebrate our individuality, let us also bring more love and compassion to the world. Let's listen to those who are different from us and embrace those differences. We may not agree, and that's okay. But we can appreciate others for who they are and try not to change them to fit our mold. Fostering relationships must include this respect and appreciation. And as a society, we know we can be better at this. We have work to do. But I believe through kindness, empathy, and compassion, we can do this. How are you unique? Let's spread that. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks wrote, "Our challenge is to create a world in which each of us, however different we may be in terms of our background, culture, faith, or ethnicity, feels that they can flourish as themselves without requiring the suppression or the diminution for any person." On this Shabbat and into the future, may we all strive to be unique, celebrate our differences, and embrace one another with this respect we all deserve. Shabbat Shalom.